Welcome back to Dog Tricks of the Trade with Deb Kirk. How you doing? Okay, so now our next step is we have gone to the janitor's room or the restroom, and we've gotten warm water. This is going to be our rinse water because the bucket is more full. This will be our Dawn. And remember, you just need a drop. Let me pull it up here. Just like drop. That's it. That's all you need. The dog's already clean, hopefully, usually from the bath the day before. And same thing with the Pantene. Just a little dollop. Dollop, dollop, dollop. And we're going to swish that around, get that mixed. And trust me, you are going to want to put this on another table or under your table. Worst thing in the world is to knock that over and then you have a big mess. All right, I'm going to let Neil take over because at the dog shows, this is the part that he usually does anyway. And that is doing the table bath. So, and again, this isn't rocket science, but at the same time, people go, well, what do I do? What do I do? And they don't want to feel like they're doing something wrong or they're not doing it like everybody else. But the dog is clean, so it's not like you have to get it thoroughly soaked. You definitely want to get all the short hairs for sure, and in between the toes. You've got to get in between the toes wet, especially if you're doing corrective grooming on those feet. And we went over that last week. So if you need to do corrective grooming, okay, you've got to get in there and make sure that all that hair in the webbing is soaking wet. And then I would start even now pulling it up. And that is for the corrective grooming on the foot. Otherwise, it's not that important.
Oh, look at this.
Yeah, what you can do is ears.
Huh?
Yeah, go ahead. He's going to bucket bath, and just like a dog show, I am going to be next door grooming on my dog. Because these are the circumstances that you have at the dog show. Do you need a better sponge than that one? Because that one's pretty ratty.
No, that's good.
No.
It's doing me with that.
Yeah, I know, but I also want to switch tables so that you're, maybe you should even be over here so you're on this swinging table, which I think I will do as soon as you're done with the bath. That way you can swing the dog into the frame. And not have to be constantly moving the camera, which is awkward for everyone. Okay, now wait, you're in the, okay? I would, here, pick up the bucket with your hand, and then put the ear in that way.
Can't do it with the sun out. Okay. The idea. Alrighty.
So it's just your standard bucket bath on the table. Just pretend like you're a princess from the 1400s. And you have to do your little bath in the Victorian pottery in your bed chamber. Okay, then get all of his feathering. Get his feathering. There you go. Next. Oh.
Alrighty.
Okay. Then I would just stick his whole foot in there. And then just pick up the water. And just. Now, depending on how curly your dog is back here on these hind feathers, would determine how soaked you want to get it. Some springers are very wavy. Some girls pee. Some aren't so wavy. The end result is that after you do this prep and you use the hair dryer to get everything dry, you want the hair to be perfectly straight everywhere. Perfectly straight everywhere. That is the end goal. Okay, come to this side to do the side.
What's that?
Come over here to do the side, so I don't have to walk around the table with the camera. Okay. Okay, now we're just going to do the feathering. You never want to touch the top coat. You do not ever want to get the top coat wet, because that will just make it curly. Any dampness or water on the coat. Now, another trick is if I'm driving to a local show, I will do all of my feathering. Here, do this, honey, while we're here. I do all my feathering in the bathtub at my house, and then put the dogs on double towels in my car. Here, do this while we're on this side. And let them get damp dry on the way to the show. So by the time I'm unloaded, this is like with 2 or 3 dogs. I'm not talking 12 dogs and a professional handler. So, and then by the time I'm all unloaded, they are damp dry, and I can put them up on the table, and we're good to go. So now the next step is the cream rinse.
Right.
So go ahead and now put that below. And again, I would have 2 different colored sponges. That way you never grab the wrong one. So after you have done the bucket bath, then you simply go in with the water rinse, which just has the tiniest bit of Pantene in it. That works as an anti-static and will just give that nice big blown out fluffy look at the end, which we all want to have for the show ring. Yep. So you get the drift.
Hope I'm not blocking anybody.
Yeah, sure. It's kind of hard to have the perfect view
Yeah.
every
I get
single
the idea.
Yeah, every single time. And then the rear, just pick that up and put his back leg in it, and it's just like cascading a waterfall over the rear end. And remember, all you're getting is the feathering now. You don't want to get into any of the top coat. Just the feathering. Okay, then we get another white towel. Oh, let's do that one. Then we'll get another white towel. And see, we're just on a sloppy white towel here. So when you're at the Springer Ring, you will always see all these towels hanging everywhere. Hopefully, if it's an indoor show, you'll see them hanging outside all over the place, getting dry for the next day. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, back on the floor. Because once again, and see, we keep them under the table. That way you don't knock into them with your feet. Go ahead and grab another white towel. You don't knock them into them with your feet. You don't knock them over. So we do this all the time. I mean, and at some dog shows, we are on top of each other because of limited space. So the last thing you want to do is knock off one of those water containers from a tabletop or by your foot because it's sticking out on the floor. I mean, that is just, it's a mess. And if you have more than one dog to do, now you know where your supplies are because they're directly under your table. There are 2 different colored sponges in each pail. So you know which one has the Dawn, you know which one has the Pantene. Pantene, I like Pantene. So you just get the dog as dry as you can with the towel by hand. We can all pretty much figure out how to do that. And I know for a lot of you who've been showing springers for a number of years, this might seem like just too basic, but it's not. If you have your very first show dog and you're going to the dog show, you're horrified because you just don't know what to do. So it's so much nicer if you can see it beforehand and just have an idea of what's expected of you when you get there. Then you're more comfortable, you're more easygoing, the dog's happier, you're happier, and it's a fun event, which is what it should be. We all have enough stress in our lives. We take these weekends to not be stressful. Next thing is to get a white Miller Slicker. Okay. Now this is another no-no. I don't like to keep my stuff on the table because if the dog knocks over it and then falls on the floor, it's like, here, I'll do the brush if you do the camera. We'll switch. So, now that the dog is wet, can you see it?
Yep, I think you're corded.
I'm corded. Yeah, I would like to find a, okay. Okay. What I want to do here. Now, this technique is called at an angle like that. This is called lifting and layering. So most people just want to do this with their brush, and that isn't what you do. Maybe at the very, very, very end, that's fine. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to lift the hair. Can you get up real as close as you can? Okay. Now, you see this line that I've made in the skin? Now I'm going to pull down the next section. Now the brush is going from the root of the hair the whole way down. The root of the hair the whole way down. All the way from the root of the hair the whole way down. Next section, especially if your dog's got lots of coat. So that's called lifting and layering, because if you just do this, you're really not getting to any of the hair that's in here up against the skin.
Also known as line combing.
Okay, so let's try it over here. I think that's good where you had it, right there. Okay, so yeah, so I make a line where I can see skin. Then I pull down about 1/2 inch, and from the root of the hair down, I'm brushing. So now that section. And so on and so forth, especially if you've got a dog with lots of hair. And other than the ears, this is the way I would brush out every single Springer in every single situation with their feathering. Whether it's an in-between bath, whether it's just putting them up on the grooming table at home. And of course the boys have their little tatas in here, so you can't see it. But I'm actually going to hold those in my hand. I'm going to hold those in my hand so I know where they are. Then I'm going to go in there and brush, because I don't think I need to tell anybody that that would be uncomfortable, as nice as these Miller brushes are, to hit the testicles with that brush. You just don't want to do it. So like that little ear flap when you're grooming, just know where the little boy's tatas are all the time. Now I've got my hand in front of his testicles, so I can brush this out. Same thing over here. My hand's in front of the testicles when I go to brush this out. When I'm doing it in real time, I'm doing it so fast and so quick. I'm not even paying attention to what I'm doing. I'm not thinking about it. But that's years and years and years. So just get used to it. Think about it when you're first starting out. Think about what you're doing. So there, all that hock hair is getting brushed out, up, and all of this is getting brushed down. Hock hair out and up, hair down. I'm going to go to the side. Got it?
Mm-hmm.
Same thing here. Now I'm going to raise all this. Yeah, just leave it there. Okay. And again, it's that exact same sequence. You can see the skin because it's white hair there. Then I'm going to pull down the next section. Now with boys, we didn't show you this, but when you're bucket bathing them, you absolutely want to put the bucket up here and get all of this completely wet and rinsed out, because there is going to be urine under their belly, and you're going to have to get that really soaked good, cream rinsed well. So I lift and I layer, so that every time I do a brush stroke, I'm going from the skin all the way down until I can feel no resistance on that brush. That means that the dog is brushed out. No, you're good. See? You just do that section by section by section. Again, just going like this is fine, but then you haven't gotten any of this brushed out underneath. And yes, we should have taken that bucket and gotten all of this soaking wet and rinsed out, because I can even still feel the tacky urine on him. So that needed to be done. And make sure on the boys that you're getting this side too as well. And you even want to do that same routine of line brushing on these front legs. So every stroke, I'm going from the skin the entire way down, 5-6 inches of hair. Very important to remember to always do the armpits. This is a place where they mat very easily, because they are constantly rubbing their elbow up against their body. So this is an area where they're going to mat and tangle super easy, and they're just going to do it all the time. So even when you're brushing at home, make sure that that is an area that you get into nicely. Ear. Now here I'm just going to lay the ear on top of my hand. Start at the bottom and work your way up. Don't go from here and then tear through. Start at the bottom. All you ladies with nice long hair out there, boy, do you know what I'm talking about. Same thing here. I start at the bottom and I work my way up. Now, once it's completely brushed out, then I can do my normal strokes. Same thing with the chest. There is no difference. That's good right there. Now, how wet do you want to get these furnishings? Like here in the front, you see that Neil did not soak him down to the skin. Well, he just had a bath yesterday, so he doesn't need it. But we do want to get maybe the top 1 inch of this bib, of this breast hair, of this forefront hair, chest hair. We do want to get that wet, and if we don't get it wet enough, we can always take our sprayer and get it wet, so that when we blow it out with the hand dryer, then this is all nice and straight. If I get to a spot where I can feel a tangle, don't go ripping through it. Kind of find it with your fingers and pull it apart. Every hair saved is a hair earned on a show dog. If you're doing that corrective grooming on the feet, now is definitely the time where you want to get all this up. Even if they're a normal dog, I brush up like that and leave it up. I brush all this up and I leave it up. It just makes a prettier picture in the ring, and it makes your dog look like it has more bone. It's a prettier look. Here's the wet ear again. I'm going to start from the bottom and work my way up. Bottom and work my way up. Obviously, you do that around the entire dog. Depending on what time the dog is shown. Honestly, at this point, once I get the dog wet, and again, I like them to shake. It realigns their head, neck, shoulder, and spine. So I let my dog shake when it's appropriate to shake. At a dog show, I would normally get them soaking wet, even more wet than what we've done here. I would put the towel back on, put the dog in his crate with a towel on top, a double folded towel, and let them sit on the terry cloth with this wet hair. And I would come back 45 minutes, an hour later, when he's damp dry, when he's more like this, and then I would start blowing him out. I found this out when I was professional dog show handling. I had 12 dogs, one person, and they all needed to get to the ring. So in the morning, with my own Springer that I owned, I would give them a total soaking bath, put the towel back on, put them in the crate, and then later in the afternoon, all of this hair just poofs up just from laying on the terry cloth towel wet. It just poofs up. How nice. So then you pull them out when they're damp dry, and then you dry them. Personally, I wouldn't start drying a dog that is soaking wet. It makes no sense. It puts the dog on the grooming table too long. It's too much stress on their hair, too much stress on the dog. The dog's on the grooming table too long. So depending on how wet you do get the dog, I would absolutely, positively, at that point, put the blanketing towel back on, put the dog back in the cage, in his crate, and then let him sit and poof up. And then when they're damp dry, come back and get them out. You might wonder about the ears. Well, yeah, you might want to wait to even do the ears after you get them up, because the ears are the one part of the dog that you do want to hand dry soaking wet to finish. So yes, that is a piece of the puzzle that you might want to do at the very end. Okay, so that's our segment for the bath on the grooming table, the show ring prep, and I'll see you back in a few minutes for the next segment. Okay, bye-bye.